Welcome to the Fusion Mastery course. In this lesson, we'll be going over display settings. After completing this lesson, you'll be able to change visual style of the interface, change camera settings, and use the view cube to orient your view. Everybody likes to model differently, and they like to see their models in different ways. I'm going to start by hiding my canvases. So I'm going to left-click on the light bulb icon next to the folder called Canvases, so I'm only taking a look at the solid body. I'm going to expand the bodies folder, and I'm also going to hide body 1, which is a surface that's on the inside of this body. I'm going to minimize the bodies folder, and I want to go down to the display settings area. Under visual style, I keep shaded with visible edges only turned on, but you can also go into a wireframe, you can just show a shaded model, or you can show a shaded model with hidden edges. Now again, this is very much a user preference thing. In most cases, I like to keep visible edges only turned on, but in some cases I like to turn it all off to get a better view of the body that I'm working with. Let's also take a look at some other options. Under Camera, Perspective with Ortho Faces allows us to take a look at a model with perspective except for when we get into a default view. For instance, the front or the right or the top view are going to snap to an orthographic view. But anytime we go to a non-orthographic view, for instance the home view, we have perspective. Now you can turn this off, but I found that perspective with ortho faces comes in very handy, especially when rotating the model around, because anytime you go to an orthographic view, you lose the perspective, so it makes things like sketching quite a bit easier. There are also some other options I want to talk about in terms of display settings. So we have grids and snaps. The grid and snap menu, if you turn on layout grid, will display a grid inside of the canvas area. Now by default, I like to turn that off, but some people like to see the grid when they're modeling. Now what I have set up is anytime I go into a sketch, the grid is displayed on whatever sketch I'm working in. Now you can also turn this on and off when you're inside of a sketch, but for the most part, I like to only see the grid when I'm in the sketch environment and not when I'm modeling. There are also options for viewports. Some people like to use multiple viewports. Now these viewports can also be linked. For instance, the isometric or home view is free to move, but anytime I zoom in and zoom out on the ortho views, they all move together. Now we can also turn off the synchronized views, and we can rotate them each individually. So anytime I want to go, for instance, to a front view or a right view or even a top view, I can turn those on individually, and I can always go back and synchronize them whenever I need to. Now I like to use a single view, and that's what I'll be using throughout this course. But again, some people, depending on the types of models you're working on, might want to turn on that multiple viewport option. There are many other options that we haven't talked about. For instance, mesh display, different environments that you can turn on, as well as different effects such as dome and ground plane. Feel free to play around with these and get your modeling environment set up the way that you like it. I'll be leaving the settings that I talked about early on in our course just to keep consistency throughout all the lessons. But feel free to make any changes that you want to make sure that your modeling environment works for you.